All right, here we are live and ready to rock and roll. We're talking about IDIQ, and we'll learn about that in just a second. Hi, my name is David Mantica. I work at SDV Office, SDV Medical. I am here with Jen and Sarah from SDV Office. They're going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into talking about more detailed items related to the VA's IDIQ. So more detailed information, its impact on manufacturers, a little bit of impact on dealers, maybe a little impact on the designers as well. So, Jen, I'll pass it over to you and Sarah for introductions, and then we'll hit the questions.
Sounds good. Hey, guys. I'm Jen Viss with SDV, of course, and I'm the Director of Design.
And I'm Sarah. I'm the Design Manager here at SDV.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for participating. You got a ton of experience in this space, and we're going to jump right into some very specific questions. And the first question is micro purchase credit cards, micro purchase credit card orders versus IDIQ orders. So, Jen, give us your thoughts on this.
So with the VAs, there are two procurement paths that we deal with. One being a credit card threshold. It used to be $10,000. And recently it bumped up to $15,000, which is awesome. One thing to note on that, though, services are only $2,500 of that $15,000. So they did not adjust that when they went up to the $15,000 credit card threshold. That can be used for anything under $15,000 for a credit card. Anything over $15,000 has to go out as a solicitation to all of us 9 IDIQ holders. And that would go out to bid, and we all have to bid on it equally as a procurement for over $15,000.
And those can be for products that are on the IDIQ or items that are not on the IDIQ
Correct.
As well.
For the micro purchases, Sarah, it could be either or?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any benefit to using micro purchase versus IDIQ, pros and cons, or not really?
So for the micro purchases, it is nice because you can use that easily for an open market purchase. So it's something that doesn't have an MTR code aligned to it for over IDIQ $15,000 thresholds. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely you could use it for open market. If there's something that you need to furnish, let's say mirrors, beds, things that are sometimes are not on the IDIQ, that you could go ahead and purchase it under the credit card threshold.
Like miscellaneous day-to-day stuff.
Yep.
That's a good option, right? So you used to have a little bit of flexibility there for designers at the VAs. So Sarah, this question's for you. And this is an important question because behavioral health issues with our veterans is critically important. It's one of the things that SDV cares the most about. And you'll see that in our content and our communications. So talk about IDIQ projects versus behavioral health projects. What's the difference? What's the issues, pros and cons?
So as we discussed last time, there's the IDIQ that has been vetted by the VA, and they have specific categories for seating, tables, workstations, patient room furniture. And there's specific MTRs or minimum technical requirements for those items. But then there's also behavioral health items that are not covered under the IDIQ. Mm-hmm. So there may be a manufacturer that's approved on the IDIQ, but there might be specific products that are just behavioral health related. They might need extra weight, other features that would be specific just for behavioral health. So that would be something that would not be covered on the IDIQ. And sometimes there's confusion. We'll see projects that have IDIQ products and behavioral health products as well, and those would have to be a separate purchase. So sometimes we have to go back to contracting and just let them know those behavioral products are not approved. They can be broken off into a micro purchase or another, if they're over 10 or 15,000, they can go on official bid and StamGov. So those are not covered under the IDIQ.
And that would be like a GS. They could do that as a GSA.
You could also do that if it was under a GSA procurement process. Yeah, for sure.
And
but
then
that's an example of doing, a behavioral health with just those pieces for a $15,000 credit card.
And if there's ever a question, just ask us again if those are approved or not. Sometimes there can be a little overlap. So Jen and I can answer those questions, or any of the SDVs can answer those questions.
Do you see behavioral health being looked at for the next refresh?
Not at this point, as far as we know. I don't know if it will be always a separate thing from the IDIQ, but it's always, a good thing that could change at some point. But right now, it's separate.
And when you see the purchasing happen, is it usually a hospital has a behavioral health segment to it, or is it specific facility differences? Do you see?
Sometimes it's a little combination of both. And there might be items that, you might only need a few seats or something as part of a larger project. But again, let us know and we can answer those questions on if it should be a separate purchase or a micro purchase.
Any other things to say on that, Jen, before we jump to the next question?
No, I think we got it.
That was nice. It's very, very important differentiator, a difference that people need to be aware of. And thanks for that share. So let's talk about approved products and how pricing works. So Sarah, it's you again. So IDIQ approved products, and how does that pricing work? Give us your thoughts.
So as I mentioned before, there are a number of categories that the VA has set up on the IDIQ contract, seating, tables, and then there's a specific MTR under each of those that cover things from executive chairs to side chairs to workstations, occasional tables, conference tables. So each of those MTRs has a specific characteristics or requirements that they need to meet to be approved on the IDIQ. And every year the VA has a refresh that manufacturers can add new products on, or manufacturers that are not currently on can get added. So once a year, those are open to be added. And then pricing is, again, updated once a year. So that pricing is held for a whole year once that gets approved, and that's different than commercial pricing. So just because the AE manufacturer has an increase maybe at the beginning of the calendar year doesn't mean that the IDIQ pricing will change at that time. It will just be a change based on the IDIQ cycle.
Anything to share on that, Jen?
No, I think Little got that, or Sarah got that.
Yeah. And so really, this is important for manufacturers, right? If you want to sell to the VA, you have a product, you have to understand how that you could potentially get your product on IDIQ, correct?
Right. Yep. Right. And
then
we take requests probably throughout the year, right? We can only do it once a year, but we're happy to contact VA designers if they do want to work with a manufacturer in the future. We're happy to see if we can put them on the IDIQ for them. Even with dealers, if there is a specific line a dealer is really comfortable with and we don't have them, we will totally look into adding them.
Really, that's a great point, is the fact that you're taking a more aggressive stance and saying, we'll add things to the IDIQ that the manufacturer might want to add, or the dealer might want to add, or the designer might want to add. You backlog it, and then you have the conversation when the time frame comes.
Yep, we have a running list, and we revisit it about the IDIQ refresh time and kind of explain how it works, and hopefully it all works out that we can add them to our package. Yeah. That's
great. That's a nice way of, being able to provide service and flexibility in a system that's not very flexible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really That's fantastic. Now, this one I think is really important. And Jen, this one goes to you. And I've heard you talk about this before, but I can't wait to hear more on this. So basically, market research versus official bids, right? And communicating upcoming products and projects. Talk about that, because, pros and cons and how to use you folks and support they can get. Kind of dig into that for us.
Yeah, so I actually encourage dealers and reps to go into the VA and do some market research, especially with the VA and the changeover that they've had recently. They do need a lot of guidance on product, and we can offer guidance to the dealers or to the VA designers on certain fees that need to be added, products that are on it or not on it. But yeah, we definitely need the dealers in the backyard of the VAs or the reps to go in there, see if they can help on any projects, do the market research up front, And then when it goes out to bid, we can definitely work with whatever dealer they originally worked with from the beginning. So it's pretty smooth transition from start to finish.
Sarah, you have any thoughts on that?
Like Jen said, working with local people
Yeah.
in the area, we know that, we work with VAs across the country and we just can't be everywhere.
Yes.
So we want to work with people that the VA feels comfortable with, people that know the ins and outs of the layout of the hospital, things like that. So we're always willing to help with local people.
So I'm a dealer, and now I'm a designer, say somewhere in Iowa.
Yeah.
And I have a dealer buddy, a good group, and I got a project, and hey, let's scope this out. But then the dealer should contact you folks so they know what's in the IDIQ before they do their scope out. Wouldn't that be a value prop?
Well, it would be a good guidance if they want to contact any IDIQ holder, but obviously we can definitely help them one way or another to let them know, hey, these are the products that are on the IDIQ. And these are the manufacturer lines that are on the IDIQ. So again, you're not specifying the behavioral health product with a combination of workstations, right? Because that's going to get automatically pulled off.
Think about all the work I could save if somebody does a whole spec and they go down the pathway and none of it's on the IDIQ and it's millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
A lot of times recently, I think with the newer contracting departments, they are looking to get sources sought. So we do respond to those, letting them know if it's on IDIQ or not. And if it's not, what path maybe they could go down, either SAM.gov or GSA on eBuy. But yeah, I mean, we definitely can help on getting a clean package.
And again, if it's a manufacturer, we might not carry that, another SDV might carry that. So always check with another SDV too, to see if if they carry that or if it's approved at all.
So that was really good. And I think it's important that folks realize that any IDIQ vendor, of course we are, is open to helping them during the phase of trying to figure out, and it's no guarantee that they would use our services. No guarantee.
Not at all. Correct.
Yep. And no pressure, no nothing. Just, hey, you want some information? We're here to help. This one's important to me, and I've been working with SDV now for almost 3 years, and the ecosystem that is the office side of the business can be challenging, right? There's a lot of moving parts. So, Jen, can you kind of talk through working with SDV? How do we fit in this ecosystem and the supply chain?
Yeah, so I think, one of the topics we kind of discussed and why working with us is obviously what we just had talked about too, with the guidance that we can offer, right? So we've got, a bunch of designers on our team. We've got a project specifier, we've got our operations, and everybody kind of basically has a little niche on what they're really good at. So I think if one of us doesn't have an answer, we can go to another team member to do that. And the other part is, we've vetted a lot of dealerships and installers and manufacturers reps around the country, and we kind of know who we should work with and who is comfortable working with the VA every day. So.
And we operate as a prime, right? So we are the prime in the opportunities.
So again, we're the contract holder. We are the prime. So if we do win an award, we would work with the local dealership as they would be our subcontractor, right?
And there might even be a installer that needs to be subcontracted.
Yep, absolutely. That goes hand in hand. Yep, absolutely.
So you got all that kind of moving. You got the manufacturers and supply chain, the installers, the dealers, the VA designer themselves. There's a lot of players in this game.
Yeah, there is, and there's, and we try to be all on the same page, right? And I think by doing that is just communicating with everybody, communicating with the installers and letting them know when something's shipping. The VA's designers letting us know, hey, we've got the construction completed at this time. And so we're trying to work around furniture delivery dates with that. And then, of course, the dealers that know their products and their lead times up front. So we could kind of plan that out along the way.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much for that. giving folks a deeper understanding of how we fit into the whole supply chain / ecosystem. So Sarah, this is over to you. Bidding process and reviewing SALs. What's happening here?
So once the VA has an official project or bid out, it is sent to all of the SDVs to review and decide. We decide internally as far as products and time frame of the project, if that's something that we would want to bid on. And then we reach out to manufacturers and dealers and get the pricing, and they'll let us know if this maybe was something that they worked on in the market research phase. And one of the big things is there can be a difference between the market research phase and the official bid. Maybe quantities change because of budget. There was a change in fabrics, a tweak in a layout. So it's always good. We're always reviewing those items, and we ask the dealerships too, if we're working on, to just verify what's in the scope of work and see if there's any changes that might have occurred since the original.
And I always like how you talk about like one fabric can make the difference between
Absolutely.
2 weeks and 20 weeks.
Correct. Yep.
And you have that knowledge and information that can help redirect when necessary.
Or we could have they could have had in the market research that the dealer did have a whole bunch of fabrics, and then all of a sudden they changed the colorway, right? So that would be changed.
Yep.
And when the official bid comes
things
out.
have discontinued, there might be an option that might again be delayed for some reason.
So there has to be some flexibility on the person who's putting the SAL in to understand that this is not a stable world. I mean, things change.
Yeah.
Things get rolled out, discontinued, fabrics run out. Who knows? 1,000 different things could potentially happen.
Right. So one of the things I just want to mention, like working with dealers, and when the solicitation comes out, obviously we would kind of have an idea if we did hear about the market research ahead of time. But it is good that, that dealers do contact other IDIQ holders, maybe to let them know that, hey, we worked on this, because there's really no way that we're going to realize that they worked on it unless a communication happens between, somebody at each of the IDIQ, holders. So it's good just to keep communicating with us and be like, hey, I have a job coming up and I worked on this. Can you, make sure that, because otherwise we don't know and we can just bid on ourselves. So we need that communication between the dealers.
If you're a dealer in the market where 140 VA hospitals are near, it's really good to understand the IDIQ. I mean, because you're going to be getting solicitations and you got to know how to service those for sure. And then go ahead, Sarah.
Another important thing is once the bid is out, there is usually a time period to ask any questions on the scope of work. If there's, differences in quantities for some reason, or if there's more information needed, and we're working with a manufacturer dealer, all those questions should come to us, and then we will reach out to contracting as we're the prime holder. We can't communicate with the VA designer or have a dealer communicate with the VA designer. So let us know those questions and we can get those answered, and an amendment will be brought out to clarify those to all the SDVs. But all those questions need to come to us and we contact.
And is there a standard SAL template, or can you work with multiple templates?
There's usually different templates. You kind of get to know a certain area and they have a way of writing their scope of works, but it can be different across the country.
Yeah, you just kind of have to, because there's different contracting offices, right? So there's always different information. We have one package that we submit regardless of what visit or contracting office we're looking at. We just feel like that checks all the boxes. So that's what I feel like we can do for dealerships or manufacturers to make sure that their product is entered in correctly and on time. Things are signed, product brochures are shown. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on who the contracting officer or specialist is that are sending out the requirements. But we feel with our system that we have everything covered. That's
really neat. So you got the multiple SAL templates. Dealers might have one. Yeah. Contracting officer might have one, but when they go through you, you're going to put it in the template when it goes to IDIQ, and it goes to, it's in the format that they understand.
That is correct. Yeah.
And it's easy for the system and the monster to read.
Yeah, because we can't have any verbal conversation really with contracting, right? So I really want to tell them some things sometimes and I can't. So we're trying really, really hard to get all the information up in these documents that we're submitting, and also in the email body itself, if there's more than one option, or if there was a situation that we had to come up with a different product because something was discontinued. But again, if you go back to questions from the beginning, we can ask those questions. Say, hey, we just figured this out, was discontinued. So what do you guys want to do? Here's our suggestion, right? But if it's after the question period, you're kind of stuck with figuring it out on your own and just letting know contracted why you did what you did. So, and hope that they understand.
Interesting. So that question period is also important.
That's a big deal for sure, especially with the changeover. I would say ask questions as soon as you get the solicitation, and we will do the same.
So closing points. Now, we've talked to a lot of really cool, very specific pieces of information that are highly valuable. So Jen, closing points on your side.
I just encourage, a lot of times, a lot of the dealers ask how they can get involved. And that's kind of what we wanted to do this little live session for, is we're happy to help them, guide them, more than anything, just as guide them. But we definitely need the local dealers, manufacturers to be kind of boots on the ground and go in there and you know, do their stuff, show their product. And we will do our best as SDV to get it through contracting for them. And fingers crossed, and we get it. And obviously the same goes for communicating with the dealer, the designers, the installers, all the way to the back end of you know, complete with a clean process. So.
And then Sarah, any last thoughts on your side?
Kind of going off of what Jen said, you know, the big key is communication, and we want to make sure that we're making the VA designer's life as easy as possible.
Yep.
And to work with manufacturers, again, that can provide great service. We're always looking for, you know, our number one thing is customer service, making sure that the VAs get what they want and need, and the veterans are served.
Yep, exactly. That we're always thinking about their mission, you know, when it comes to it. So yeah, whatever we can do to help, we are here. And if we don't know, we will definitely find somebody that does.
An extension of a dealer, if they want to get into VA work, I mean, instead of hiring multiple people, you got this great team here at SDV office to get them through the process, go through the IDIQ, and get them to win the deal with the local VA.
Yeah. Yep.
And process it all for them.
Yep. I promise it's not that bad. We will help. We do it all day, every day.
That's the key. It's not bad. It's easy when you partner with someone who knows what's going on.
Exactly.
Well, I thank you both. This has been fantastic. IDIQ Part 2, working more details out with dealers and manufacturers to make it as easy as possible for the designers to get what they need and want through the IDIQ. Yeah. Thank you both very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.